Ian Taylor, one of a pioneering entrepreneur in New Zealand. He's run a very successful international business, and hasn't been afraid from time to time to stick his toe in the water of, I don't know, common culture and politics. And most lately, he has opined and given his views on the takeover, the boardroom battle, it is being called, for control of NZME, the largest privately owned and privately held media organisation in New Zealand that operates the Herald, operates the ZB network and a number of other radio stations, about half the commercial radio stations in the country, and a digital advertising platform for selling real estate called One Roof, which is apparently very, very successful. Well, rather than me maybe misrepresenting what Ian had to say yesterday in a column and stuff, I thought it would be best if we got him on and we just asked him to tell us in his own words, no misinterpretation. Ian, lovely to have you back on the program. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Sean. Look, I'm happy for you to misrepresent me, and then we can correct it afterwards. Isn't that how we normally start?
Oh, I don't know. I just thought we'd cut straight to the chase. It would be the best way.
Well, just to put it in context, yes, I do go dipping my toe in the water on a number of subjects, but I am careful that they are subjects I have at least got a connection to. Yeah. And this one is of interest to me because, as you would know, those opinion pieces I used to write, I did write for the Herald, and I was invited by Shane Curry to do that after he'd seen what I was doing on LinkedIn, and I will always be grateful to Shane for the platform he gave me there. But where we moved apart, because now I write for Staff, and one of the first reasons I started to make that move and thought about leaving it, even though I owed a great deal to Shane, was the decision that had been taken by the board and not the editorial staff to run a Hobson First ad on the front page of the Herald.
Now, Hobson's Pledge ad on the front page of the Herald.
Hobson's Pledge. And
why was that?
That is a personal view of mine. A newspaper, a media thing as powerful as the Herald was, to actually sell that space, the prime space. I don't mind it going to, the Warehouse, Briscoe's, places like that, but to sell it to any party. I mean, Labour.
Hobson's Pledge
anybody.
Are a group of people with an opinion.
Sure. Yeah.
That you don't agree with.
Yeah,
and so you were offended that someone who thought differently than you, Ian, was allowed to buy some advertising?
No, I was not offended. I just have principles of mine. It is not something that I would have, that I thought was right, that a political viewpoint from somebody who could afford to do it went on the front page. The very front page.
Okay, did you feel the same when the Council of Trade Unions during the last election ran attack ads on National, on the front page of the Herald?
Absolutely. Look, I mean,
So why didn't you sort of walk away from the Herald then?
I actually don't recall those. Were they on the front page?
Yep.
Oh, well then I missed that. But it was a personal viewpoint. It was a personal view of mine, and I made that decision. I did not make a fuss about it. I did not make any announcement that's why I was moving to Staff. The board had made a decision. That was their decision to make. It was my decision that I wouldn't write
for them anymore. Okay, all right, and that's all. I'm sure everyone's tickety-boo with that. But let's make it clear: it was the publication or the acceptance of money for the publication of an ad that you personally just didn't agree with. And some people would say you threw your toys from the cot.
Not personally. No. It was a much more broader than that. If Labour had done it, if the Green Party had done it, if Te Pato Māori had done it, and I honestly didn't see the things for and one of the reasons I probably didn't. I mean, I guess the reason I knew this thing had gone on the front page of the Herald, because I'm in Dunedin, and we don't get the hard copy.
Yeah.
Probably the reason I knew was that there was such a fuss about it, and that's when I followed
All right.
it up.
So that explains your relationship, or the severance, the cooling of your relationship with the Herald, right?
Two things. So there's that, and again, I've stepped back, but then it was the next step, and again, a relationship that I'd had with Troy Balle. So I hadn't actually said anything about
now,
this battle.
for those who aren't deep in the millionaires club or the billionaires club, arguing club, let's just backtrack a little bit. I know the story. Some of our people listening might not.
Are you including me in the billionaires?
No, Ian, I'm saying it jokingly with my tongue in my cheek. And I look back at that incident, knowing both of you. You and Troy Balle had a public spat over a Tom Scott cartoon, which I thought was a clever and positive cartoon about sort of togetherness in New Zealand and aspects of our heritage that made us good sailors. It wasn't saying one culture was better than another culture, but in fact that our DNA collective made us great navigators and great sailors. Yep. And I thought it was a positive cartoon. I think you may have said something about it. I think Mr. Balle may have misinterpreted that cartoon, and it exploded into a very, very public spat between you and Troy Balle, didn't it?
Yes, not of my making, and probably not of Troy's either.
Yeah.
But
because the media got in the middle and amped it up, and then little old TJ Perenara got all bend the knee on it.
No, so if you actually go back, and look at my response, because there was the stuff, the media, there was people, screaming the word racist all over the place. But if you have a look at my response, it was that I don't use the word racist. I start that maybe there's a misunderstanding and an ignorance, and that's really what I felt had happened with Troy, because I agree with you. The reason I commented on Tom Scott's cartoon was it was incredibly clever. The weaving of the DNA of the two cultures I thought was tremendous. And I simply commented on that. And in commenting on it, I highlighted the fact that for me, the interesting thing about that, and I was thanking Tom, was that I'd only just discovered the story of the Waka Haurua. My stories had always been about...
We're in danger of David.
Yeah.
Anyway, you and Troy Balle have a bit of a public spat. He ended up having a public spat with TJ Perenara and the New Zealand Rugby Union and the Hurricanes. He sold out of the Hurricanes.
So we cut to the chase here.
Yeah.
So we cut to the chase. So the really great response that happened, the best response, I think, from the article I wrote, and I wrote it as sincerely as I could, was that Troy and I spoke yesterday. We spoke
and
for
he
about
is
40
one of the people, for those who know, he's one of the people aligned with Jim Grennan, one of the shareholders seeking to remove the current board of the Herald. Yeah. Of NZME, yeah. Yeah,
of NZME. And so, it was a very, I would love to stop writing columns. You might have seen the one I wrote to Winston Peters last week about wokeness. Well, the most rewarding thing about that was within half an hour of that being posted, I got a text from Winston saying, hey, we should catch up. Now, all I want to do is, I actually think that what we are getting caught up with now is people on the fringes of both sides yelling louder than the people in the middle. And I just want to be one of those people lifting the voice in the middle. And Troy and I are going to meet, because as we spoke, there were probably 90% of the things we discussed we agreed on. We agreed to disagree that it's a good idea that that he and Grennan should take over the Herald, but we don't agree on that.
Yeah.
But that's fine. That's a business thing I can't bloody control either. But what we are going to do, and I am going to meet with Winston, and I am going to meet with Troy, because we found we had a lot in common. So let those. What we have to do is start giving people something else to talk about and see if we can silence the voices on the extremes that are hogging the highlight.